Welcome to Wickerson Studios. My name is Michael Wickerson, and I'm going to show you how I kind of make some geometries using Grasshopper in Rhino. And I very rarely go in and use my Python and C# nodes because they're more of number data driving things, and that was more of an exploratory kind of realm. I usually stay with the first 8, or 9 ribbon tools that come up here. So if I think of something geometric, something I love to build, I probably would go in and set myself a point pretty fast and have that as my reference point to where I build off of, right dead center. And I'll probably use that many times for different components, always thinking of putting something back to center. And what I like to do is use little transformations on those points. And let's say do a physical move. And we can move that geometry possibly in the X direction. And we can start setting our parameters to get our size and scale of what we want to use in our parameters. And I like the type 12 a lot because that allows me to go here. And I'm also going to throw in a negative, and run that through here and hold down my shift and pull that in. Now I have 2 points to play with that kind of go off in 2 directions here. And that might be the direction I want to go. I guess I could spread it out in the Y. And just because of angles, it might be nice to do that. So let's just grab the Y and throw these 2 with a control shift into the Y and into the motion. And now we have our 2 points that we're actually going to start dealing with. I don't really need to see that first point anymore, so I'll disable that one. But you can enable it in there because basically you have 3 points to play with right now. Now I haven't gone in and generated any random numbers and things like that. You can see how complicating that with a, say a basic, where could I go? I can go anywhere. Just construct data. Create an array, create a tree of numbers. If I did something like that and I started to take something like this and feed 12 into the branch number, 12 into the count, and 12 into the number, that's going to generate a series of crazy number values that if I put in, now I've got this kind of endless array of data that, what is that all about? Why would I want to use all that? And that's not helping me at all. So like I said, I'm going to avoid going into my C components, have some fun with this, connect this over to here, and have my 2 that I want to reference. And I think they're there running again. There they are. So center, and I'm going to keep it on. I like to work in 3 dimensions, so I like to work in perspective. And you can switch over from set view to 2-point perspective, or you can set over to isometric. You can set over to parallel up in the, at least I thought the parallel was here. I might have to go to active viewport. No, it's viewport layout that you go in. Where was it? Set view. Maybe you have to right click on here and it gives you a chance for parallel. Anyway, I can't remember where that is. Funny how you forget things. That was viewport layout. New viewports, no. Active viewport, perspective, view. Maybe it was an older version that had parallel. Anyway, isometric, maybe that's what I want. Anyway, I'm happy enough with this to start building out. Now, those are the centers, and what I'll probably want to do is I'll want to move those again, and or I could build a circle, or I could put a plane on those. So I might go in and think, let's deal with a plane, and let's construct a plane from those points. And because we want the x-axis to be something different, let's grab the z unit and see what that does to x-axis. There we go. It rolls it up. And if I do it in y, let me get rid of this one. There we go. There's the axis of what I might want to do. And they don't face, I mean, you have to think that they're both reading x and y here, and I have to wonder which is the top or bottom of those. But since I'm dealing in points and lines for the main part, let's just grab a circle and throw it on here. And because those are my circles and there's my radii can be kind of similar to what I was playing with here in these numbers. And I'm probably going to take my edit value down to 10 and then work with a number slider that's basically around those numbers. So I'll slide out to 10. I'll do a quick copy paste, and I have another number slider that I can throw in radii. I can see the sphere, the wheels that show up. Now what's interesting here is I may want to angle these. Now before I angle these, I like to do those things before any geometries, lines, or points. So there's no reason with this plane not to think to rotate that plane. So let's jump back into here and see what's available. Rotating the plane is one thing, but I actually want to transform that plane And sometimes I just use Rotate 3D almost on everything I do. And if I grab the center of that, the center would definitely be that origin of both of them. I've got a full rotation. The axis is probably the z-axis. I'm not sure. And I like to deal in radians, so I'll type in pi and throw that into here. Oops. And throw that up in the angle. And I'll make a range that will have a domain that I can play off of. Steps being 2, this one's set at 10. I'll probably just set it at 2 because there's no reason to be too fancy. I know that there's only 2 planes. And I could number those and take a list length and things like that. And then domain, I really just want to go from probably 0 to 2 pi. And with that, I can go, well, I definitely have to make my domain first in math. And this is usually how I think to create things, and it's pretty repetitive. And I know it's not that exciting for some other people, but if I range that, that's going to have a range of one's going to rotate a lot, and the other one's going to rotate a little. And I think that's kind of fun to pull those out now, take those geometries, put them in as the planes instead, and now you have this kind of crooked way of playing off turning one wheel and not turning the other. And that's pretty heightened because I'm dealing in pi. For those that don't want to deal in pi, you probably put that in there and think of it as a degree in doing so. So let me get out of pi and have a range of domain, start and end, and 2 steps. My range is pretty high. And I think this is actually set to, I have to go in here and click it over to degrees, and now you've got a very subtle shift. So at this point, you might want to take it back up to what you had. Let's say we went back to that initial one and copied that twice. Like I said, I like radians, but for this one, I may end up having a change of domain is pivoting. And what I choose to do in that range is I can turn one a little less and one a little more. And I think that's kind of interesting to make things wonky and get them working a little differently. That one's going to change the other one, and this one's going to go in and move both, which is kind of nice. And I find that kind of exciting to have that kind of altering. And of course, that's just moving in one direction angle, and the axis is this. You may want to have a vector, create a vector to make it more interesting, have that vector go in as an axis, and then here, put in your 1.00 and do that 3 times and just have fun with that, because they're really just kind of think of them as crazy unit vectors, x, y, z. And now you can see how you can start to move and alter those in very subtle little ways on that vector in different directions. And I think that's kind of nice as well, playing with that vector so you can get a little bit of play. And maybe that's too subtle and people don't like that and they want to see it move a little more. Well, then play with your numbers a little bit, have some fun. But those are a nice way of doing that, and they're not symmetrical. And I know I've said that enough times. Let's go in here, go to zoom, and you see how you start to play with that and make it a little wonky and jitter it around a little bit. If I take this one, let's take this one up just to 20 and see what happens when we do that. And there you go. You get a little more playing off of that as well. You can still have an effect on both of them. So fun. I also was thinking, like, what if I cranked it up in another direction, kind of cantilever. Anyway, this, yeah, kind of pull it off the side like it's going to fall apart and fall down. Now that I have those circles, I probably would go to dividing perp frames, which I like. And that keeps a nice system that without dividing the curves, you can start to loop things through. So with these perp frames, you can keep it on its list. So there's 2 lists here. Actually, I have 3 lists, which is very interesting. Why do I have 3 lists? Why do I have 3 planes? I have planes being generated here, X, Y, Z. There's 2 planes, and then I jump to 2 planes. Why do I jump to 3 planes? Probably with the circles going on them. That's very interesting. Okay, I've got 3 planes there. I've got 2 coming in. Why is that one doing that? 1, 2, 3. The last two seem to be somewhat the same. The Z is a little different. And that's probably my range has a step higher. Yes, because 2 steps is going to give me 3 items, so I got to bring that down to 1. And that should be enough to kind of play off of that and have those interesting geometries. Okay, so you got to watch that range, and usually I do follow a list length and -1 from it, so it stays the same. So maybe I should stay in that practice if that's new to people. I usually take a list length and plug it in there, and then I'll go into my exponent. I find this in range all the time and set my equation to x -1. So this is kind of how I think. Now it's solved, and I don't have that problem if I was to change how many there were. But we've got some wonky little guys, and we can take those perp frames and we can draw anything we want. So it might be nice to generate a, if we thought a little wooden polygon, which is kind of funny, and the segments to that. Let's crank those segments up to an odd number of 19. I think that's kind of fun. And with those, because they're now, well, since we're doing a cross angle, I guess what I may do is grab an ellipse, which I like, and have this generated in maybe 2, keeping an integer value, by 4. You can play off of this quite a bit, and I usually do this. I enjoy it. Make sure you don't go into Rhino. I'm just rambling on today. I just felt like I wanted to do something like this, and I've got enough followers, so I figure I can. They're not going to kill me. So the planes that I want those to go on to are these frames, and those ellipses are being built, and you can see how big they are, kind of funny big. And because of our scale, it probably would be best to go to a rational number, bring this down to 2 and 0. Oh, and I don't want it at negative. I want that at 0 and 0. And we can get rid of that negative. I don't know if I ever want them to disappear fully, but let's take that one and this one. Have a little bit of fun with this. So I do work, looking at what I want. I don't trust like the computer fully to tell me what it needs. So we'll go high there, and we'll go a little bit here, see what we have. And with those, it shouldn't be hard to take them separately through a loft. And I do enjoy doing that. I should have, with a loft options, you could jump in here and close the loft. You can also download. So now I've got these kind of funky wheels that do some fun things. And without a Boolean union, which I don't really want to get into, I do all my Boolean cleanup usually back over in Rhino. You want to check your object to make sure that, it doesn't have any bumps. It does have an interesting surface, the surface edit, if you wanted to put texture on it, and you can get it more complex, but I'm not going to go there. We can find those original 2 points and build an axle. But what I find is nice to do with that little axle from these 2 points is maybe grab a set list and dispatch them, which might be nice. Sets, where am I? List dispatch. So I've got 2 things to deal with. I'll have to dispatch the list by flattening it, and now I have 2 items. I have 1 point and another point, which I'll take a look at. And sometimes I throw a point back in here as a container. I don't usually import anything in the point containers, like my GH files will stand on their own. But those 2 points would be nice to take that other point and make that the middle of an arch. And to do so, that point I probably would move, and it's not too hard to grab your transform. Throw it into a move. You've got a Z direction default of 10. Let's just take it as a point, and let's build a little arc, which couldn't kill us. Primitive arc 3 point, and see what we end up with ABC. And sometimes direction can be an issue, but at least you're thinking of how you're building. And there's our arc. That's pretty jumpy and that's pretty high. So I definitely would keep the motion in a Z direction, but it might be nice to grab this vector direction. And through that, go back into your vector tab, grab your amplitude, throw that into here, throw that into there, and give yourself a little bit of play with a 2.00 so you don't have to go jump it up to a 10. And now you've got a nice little weird wonky bend that goes off in another direction. So wheels, lofted form, and at this point you might want to, it couldn't hurt to have a little bit of fun with something I use all the time, which jazzes it up, a little bit of a variable pipe. Grab your arch, be sure to reparameterize it, and it should work well. And we can have a little bit of do-si-do fun with a range tool in sets. And throw that in the params, and just put that through one of your fun little graph mappers. I do like the graph mapper. And I've seen other techniques that are really nice by, what's his name? I'm trying to remember his name. He does these incredible things with making aligned images, Bezier curves in this Rhino dock that you can move around that actually change so you don't lose your Bezier scripts if that's what you want. I'm going to go in the graphs and always go to parabola because it's kind of always fun. And I bring it up from nothing and usually jazz it up into something kind of funky like that. So I think those are kind of funny, honking. Nice. Oh, you got to keep control of these things. Really nice fun to play with that. And of course, you could zoom in if you're being as crazy as me. And you can change your scale. So I'm going to throw that in there, and I'm just going to put a cat brown on there. And I think that's a funny little thing. Let's have a look at it. It's an arch, but then again, from those points, you probably want to go drawing a line item, because I'm just building. I'm just taking my time and enjoying myself. Hope people find this video interesting. It's not too exciting. Let's go back to our initial point, which has been so helpful to us. We can grab it at any time. Let's take that point and go to all of the points that made up the Perp Frames, which were, okay, if you got your Perp Frames there, you don't need to do this, but if what plane and deconstruct plane, I could take those frames, grab those origins, put them up in here, and I should have a bunch of lines. Now those are interesting because the start point is in the middle, and that's not what I meant to do. I meant to go here and grab my start points as a list, and with any luck, if I flatten that list, no, if I graph that list, what am I thinking? I am thinking like a fool, but I think I've got it figured out. I can also put that through a fun little variable pipe, which will be a little dangerous. There we go. And have the same kind of traction curves. Not too exciting because it's the same graph, but there is a nice piece of geometry. And I don't know why you'd make it. I made it. It's a little wonky. It shows a little play. You can always go in and grab those forms in this form and do your Boolean union if you like. But what I usually do is say, if I was cleaning this up, I'll just end it. We'll take this and this as a baked toy and say, group us and make us that delicious, wonderful color blue that makes you so happy, Wickerson. Oh, drives me crazy trying to get in here. Stop it. Oh, it's usually because it's so low. I do that so much. I'm getting older and my fingers are getting sloppy. And then I'll have a little bit of play here that maybe you want to play down here. Otherwise, everything else is fine here. Let's grab everything we need that plays down here. No, it's not really necessary. Throw that one up in there. Put this one down here because it's feeding into that. This one will go well here, maybe. But since it's kind of jumpy, I'll scoot it up here. I like to see my wires in case I ever want to go back to something. I've probably made this thing 1,000 times in my life in one way or another. I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to grab all these. And what I'll do now is just have fun saying, well, those were kind of fun to play with. That was kind of fun to play with. These three are kind of fun to play with. And this is where you have those inputs that can go into Unity and into Photogram. And you can really have fun starting to bring this into AR or gaming in that sense. Grab these, bring them up here, and tuck you down here. That's a lot of plugins. Now, Photogram's only going to let you have 3 without charging you for the new program. But if you start working in Unity and building your own scripts in C# things like here, I think Unity is Unichiro. I have these nice things which are Unity sliders. So I can import those, and those will directly import into, they're pretty nasty, but I've pulled those off of Unichiro Horikawa, and I've constructed a Boolean under his tutorials if I wanted to toggle on or off or to change things using enumeration, 0 or 1. And I also have forms for surfaces that I could bring in and put at the end of the script. So that's really exciting to take this and pop this into Unity, and it's not hard to do. You just have to have a script that opens that actually is programmed into the Grasshopper link. And like I said, Unichiro Horikawa kind of walked you through that, but otherwise, got a pretty nice thing. This is playful, so I'll give a little group cluster and say, let's color that a playful orange. And then everything else in the middle just sits there. This is a little playful orange as well. But I'll take this whole script and make that grouped and call that, color that red so people avoid it. So you've got baked, you've got parameters. If you wanted to have fun with these, you could play around with those, but you have to have them as items and you have to have that as an end. But I'll just leave those outside of the main script, just not to confuse you. And then the whole thing could be put into a wonderful little purple. And there you go. You got a little tiny program that builds this geometry. I hope you find that exciting. If you ever want to learn more from me, jump on my Patreon. It's how I think when I sculpt and make things. And then usually when I'm done, I will take those to a bake. And we will actually probably bake this one first. We could bake that to a level. Oh, we could just do a default. I think I will. Maybe I won't. There's a lot of items there, so maybe I will just bake them in. And then this item over here, I will bake in. And that might cause me a little bit of stress in a minute. But leaving Grasshopper, I've got a nice little form in Rhino. I've got another window open for some reason. We can go into the rendering, go back into here. One thing I like to do before I start is zoom extends all. Do a top technical view. And this is getting up there in video time. I like to do a pen and ink drawing of it, and I like to do an artistic drawing. This is how I kind of think when I make sculptures. This one I'll probably put the render, but in doing so on a render, nice little form. That axle, well, I usually go over here first of all. Let's pull my ugly face away. Don't know where it went, but it went somewhere. We'll do a gradient color background. I'll usually choose something subtle that I like, a dark blue. I'll take a look at my ground plane, which I definitely want, and I will take the sun off. I'll keep the sun off, and I might take the skylight off, but it's a little too jazzy. I like that little subtle shadow there. I go to my materials. I'll add a materials, and even though I think metal sometimes, let's go ahead and grab a colored metal, and grab another rich, dark color that will kind of be nice on it. And we will assign objects here. Probably shift here, here, here. Oops. No, I didn't want the surface. Actually, I don't mind it. I'm just going to be selective here and just have a little fun. Yeah, surface again, and this one. And we will hit assigned objects. It just takes a little second because the variable pipe usually goes a little slow. Or I have to hit enter. There we go. And then I will grab this object, and I might have to zoom in, shift this one, poly surface, this one, this one, this one, this one. And, 2 colors is enough, even though it might be fun to do 3 with a little tail end here, like you ran out of materials when you're working. Let's grab a, oh, horrible, horrible, horrible. Let's grab that poly surface, that one. Poly surface, that one, that one, that one, that one, poly surface, and that one, poly surface. And like I said, I'm going to grab a little one here, poly surface. And we will take that to a color, probably an orange, to complement it, a really dark, brilliant orange, I think, just to be putrid. And let's take that over, assign the objects, and let's go in and just finish this off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Control to get rid of that. 5, control to get rid of it. Should make a bigger screen. There. Really wants that one. Maybe I should choose it and just get in here for this one. And we'll do one other color, which may be a plaster, really dark. We'll do a dark. We'll do a really strange purple. And we'll take that. So that's kind of how I finish it off. And I'm okay with that. I'll squish this down to the side. I'll go to Zoom Extends All. And I'm happy with it. This one is, and I'll choose which one I like. And it's pretty gross, but that's just the nature of it. I like the pen and ink drawing. And so I may take this one over to render. I like that top view. And if there's anything I want to change now, I'll probably the subtle of this, go into this color and just really kill it on a tone like that because it was too much. And I might change the material to something transparent, glass, which allows for something interesting in rendering. And I think this one I'm actually going to go to material glass as well. And now I will just make some decisions on this and go over and do a ray trace and wait for it, and may take it to a render. So pretty gross design, but you know, a variable pipe, it's built, it can be changed. Before I get out of it, the ray trace, I'll go back to render and notice that for some reason I skipped one. And I'll probably in that one grab a something of an anomaly plaster colored red, just like that, and that should be enough to do that. Side objects. And there we go. It's an awkward little piece. Find the angle you want to view it, kind of up low, the way it resides on itself. Not sure if I love it, but there's my ray traced image. I'll let that run through to 1000. And you've got a nice little rendering, nice little object you consider making in glass or in metal. And I am excited about it. I wish I had a little yellow in here, so I am tempted to go back into here and just make this one, this color, a little more vibrant yellow, like that. And I'm okay with that. Kind of pukey. This is where I lose my following because like, you have no taste in color. But you know, maybe I do, maybe I don't. The blue background can work with me, and I'll just take it to a faded out. There we go. I'm okay with that. A little bit of metal works. The orange is not appealing to me, so I'm going to bring that down back out of there as well, and just make it a little more subtle. And now I'm getting closer to something I like. Put it through the ray trace, send it to rendering if you like it. And just while I'm waiting, I know I shouldn't be doing it, I am going to put this one back to technical to understand the piece. The pen and ink I really like, always. Sometimes I move this one. And periodically I will go in here and just hit turntable and hit that and get things rolling and stop them when I like them. And I like once you take another one to the turntable, you can start playing with it, think of it differently. So you can go in here and do a turntable on that one and stop turntable, but then you have control of playing with it a little bit. Actually, I wish I left that one on turntable a little longer. All right, that's how I think. It's not that exciting, but it's how I think. And thank you very much for watching Wickerson Studios. 28 minutes long of just playing around. Maybe I'll pop up my Grasshopper dock again in the end and throw it on view all, and you can see the size of the script's pretty simple.